Oh! Oh, hello. I know, right? Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?
Yeah, 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 X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door, it's real. With the non-stop.
Three unqualified morons and microphones. This is the previously recorded podcast. Wisecracking mercenary Deadpool meets Russell, an angry teenage mutant who lives at an orphanage. When Russell becomes the target of Cable, a genetically enhanced soldier from the future, Deadpool realizes that he'll need some help saving the boy from such a superior enemy. He soon joins forces with Bedlam, Shatterstar, Domino, and other powerful mutants to protect young Russell from Cable and his advanced weaponry. Today we discuss Deadpool 2. All right, welcome back to Previously Recorded. I am your host, RP, as always, and we are continuing the Deadpool and Wolverine month rewatch. We're kind of speeding along, jumping through timelines, releasing an episode a week to get you ready for Deadpool and Wolverine this week. This Friday it comes out. So we are at Deadpool 2. Been some time since I've revisited this movie, so I'm very interested to talk about it. Joining me today is Bob. Bob, how are you, buddy?
I'm well. How's everybody else?
Doing well. Can
Doing well.
confirm no shoe will be needed to be eaten because of this movie. Right?
Yes, no shoe on this one. Although I will say I recently watched. It's not part of this. I recently watched Madam Web.
Madame Web?
Yeah, but I also don't think shoe worthy. I think Electra was still worse.
Electra was still worse. I've also watched it since.
Yeah.
But we have a special guest joining us from the multiverse, and the timeline is Bill. Bill, welcome to this side. You were on DC last time.
That is true.
Come through the multiverse. How are you, man? Welcome back to the pod.
Feels great. Feels like it feels like the better side, honestly. But looking forward to talking about this one that I've seen a few more times than the last one, the Flash, right?
I was gonna say it was the Flash last time.
Yeah,
right?
it's the
I
Flash.
remember.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of the ones we saw like in theaters and then talked about.
Yeah, we
Right,
got
yeah.
invited to see the Flash.
We were influencers that night.
We will not be invited to see Deadpool and Wolverine, unfortunately.
Better CGI in the Flash. Better in this one than in the Flash.
Agreed. Definitely agree on that. So it's been quite some time since I've seen this movie. I think we talked about it on our original Deadpool episode that I haven't seen this since it came out. I own
I
it.
think the theaters was my thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill. Have you said you've seen this a couple times? How many times have you seen this?
Well, I got it on currently, actually, matter of fact. I had it on during dinner, and I have it on now, restarted, and I watched it 2 days ago. So
How about that?
I'm joining a trivia game somewhere.
Fully
my
prepared.
name.
You're in now.
You're the Deadpool expert now. I mean, it's just what it is.
Yeah, what do you want to know? Yeah.
So, what we've been doing with everybody who joins the show, kind of, what is like your, I don't want to say the background, but like, what is your experience, your feelings about the X-Men? I know this is Deadpool specific episode, but this whole thing is a whole X-Men thing. Like, do you remember your first interaction with the X-Men? Was it the cartoon? Was it the 2000s movies? Like, what brought you into the X-Mansion?
For me, it was definitely the cartoons, and then just the first one still holds up. You know, Hugh Jackman introduction to Hugh Jackman, Wolverine still going strong. It's just it was just an absolute masterpiece as a comic book movie at the time. Obviously, you know, the sequels were not as good, but you know, still X-Men, and you always had your favorites. And to kind of not get ahead of myself, I'll let Bob speak on his experiences with X-Men, but I do have some favorites of the Deadpool that I want to talk about with the X-Men. But
Okay.
it was such a one of my favorite teams. I like X-Men more than most of other Marvel.
Really?
Yeah. So I like them more than Fantastic Four.
What about
For
the
sure.
Avengers?
The Avengers is tough because I actually watched them. I grew up watching X-Men more than the Avengers, matter of fact. And Avengers, you know, they took the lead for a while there because they were just the character building was a lot better through the live action. But X-Men's just they were original. They were definitely the original cartoons that I grew up with. So
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, those cartoons were huge. Obviously, have you had a chance to watch X-Men 97 yet?
I started watching it and I liked it. What I saw, I just can't. I haven't finished it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I feel like that's kind of everybody's experience that's been on the show. I mean, for me, it was the live action movies. But for a lot of the guests that we've had on, it has been, if it's not comic books, it's been
Mhm.
the cartoon because that cartoon is so influential.
Yeah.
But I did not know you were a huge X-Men fan. That's
I mean,
interesting.
I think a lot of it came down to growing up, not to tell myself how old I am, but I played a lot of like Super Nintendo, and one of the Super Nintendo games I have was in fact X-Men and Cyclops. Matter of fact, believe it or not, it was my favorite growing
Yeah.
up. That was my favorite character. They kind of
He was
sissified him a
clutch in
little
that
bit.
game. He
So
was clutch in that game. I also had the same game.
Yeah, all
He had the
right.
distance shot, so it was
Yeah,
easier to keep people at bay.
he was legit.
Cyclops was great.
Yeah,
The Marvel vs. Capcom games, he was great. But you're right.
yeah.
You're right on. He stinks in these movies. He is.
Mhm.
He
Well,
is.
he's just a dork. Like
Yeah,
Scott Summers is not cool. Cyclops
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
yeah,
So if you're just playing the game and you need the power, then it's cool to be Cyclops. But if you're
yeah.
like trying to follow a character, like this guy's a crybaby.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he gets his girl taken from him. That's neither here or there. But
hmm
I mean, but that's kind of where it started, like the Super Nintendo, the 2D side by side, and that was always Cyclops, Wolverine, just hack and slash all
Hell
throughout the
yeah.
game. So it was, it all started there, and then as they turned them into these real life movies, it's just kind of grown from there.
Yeah.
Um, Little disappointed on what was it, Dark Phoenix, that
Oh
they're just
God.
I feel they're kind of just going in the wrong direction. But the
Yeah.
originals, like in cartoons and video games, are the
It's
best.
kind of all downhill after Days of Future Past, which is all right.
Yeah.
What we're covering next. Um.
Oh, yeah, put
So
me on that one.
Well, no,
I
because this comes out week up.
yeah. So this is
Okay. Oh, okay,
we're
okay.
yeah we're
Yeah,
good.
we're in top. We're at cable
Yeah,
bill right now.
we're in
Yeah,
the
we're using
future.
cable's
I'm actually
ability.
recording it tomorrow. So shh. Um. But yeah, no, man, that's super interesting. Bill, I've known you for a very long time, and this is news to me. So I find that
You never
very
asked.
interesting. I
Yeah.
get, you know what? I guess
Never
that's
asked.
true. That's fair. I guess that's never true. So you
Oh
said
wait,
I would.
because Bill made a good point that I didn't think about when I initially talked about the X-Men. They were the go-to team growing up,
Oh yeah, because the
and like I
Avengers and
didn't
all
even
the
think like the Fantastic Four was nobody to me. It
yeah
was X-Men.
Yeah, nobody.
Like the
yeah
Fantastic Four, I knew who they were, but like I liked the Thing, and that was it when I was a kid.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Rock
they're
guy.
the X-Men were huge in the '90s. That's why,
That's what I
not just
mean. Like Bill and I are the same age, so like that was I
Mhm.
didn't even think about it that way. Like they're the team to that was like the because you he said that and you're like, oh, like taken aback by it, but like the other teams didn't exist. Like it
yeah.
was
Yeah.
Because when Iron Man came out, everybody's like, "Why are they making this movie about a B-list character?" I mean, they had the cartoons, but they weren't super popular. But X-Men and Spider-Man, kind of the most popular. I
well.
know
Then
that.
you had like as far as teams go, you had your variations of the X Men, but like it
Yeah,
was all like mutant based, like X Force and stuff, which we see
yeah,
here. But
and
yeah,
Deadpool too. So I
Yeah.
guess is your favorite character then Cyclops?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to stick. I'm a loyal guy. I'm gonna have to stick with that, and I'm not gonna be that front running, like jumping on Wolverine bandwagon. But
That's
yeah, I'm gonna stick with Cyclops.
it's been interesting because I think if you would have asked me even the beginning of this rewatch, Wolverine was always my favorite. I think
Mhm.
because of how he's portrayed in these movies, and I love Hugh Jackman so much. And like his portrayal of Wolverine, I think is one of the greatest comic book castings of all time. Especially because he was like a dark horse. Like everybody's like, this is awful. But as I've been watching it, as I've been reading more X-Men, as I've been watching the X-Men cartoon, I think Hank McCoy is my favorite X-Men.
so I was gonna say
Yeah.
Wolverine was cool as a kid just because of like the appearance and stuff, but he was never my favorite. And the only reason that he like grew in popularity for me was because of Hugh Jackman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as a kid, and it
It's fair.
tracks with me. I always liked nerdy. Like Donatello was my favorite turtle.
Donatello's mine as well.
Blue Billy was my favorite Power Ranger. Like I guess I was like a nerdy kid, so I was like the nerdy guys. So Beast was my favorite when I was younger, and then as I like got a little bit older, Colossus was
Yeah.
there, Nightcrawler were like my guys, but like Beast always had like a spot, which I was
Yes.
actually about to say. I didn't expect you to throw Hank McCoy out there.
Yeah, because when we were like, yeah, it's really been during this rewatch, and he's not in it that much, but it's been the X-Men '97 has reinforced his love, and I'm like, this character is awesome. He is so cool. So that's been my reemergence. So last question about the X-Men, Bill.
Mhm.
Favorite X-Men related movie, including you can include Deadpool 2, like Mutant Universe. What is your
Ooh.
favorite of all the movies?
Um, wow. It has to be Last Stand. No, I'm just kidding. No, and you mentioned it earlier. I think it was Days of Futures Past, and it's just a well. I was actually blown away when I first saw it, and I know this isn't a Days of Future Past rewatch podcast, but it was one of those that I was like, okay, they're back because
Yeah.
you had the ones before, and you were just and even like First Class, I thought was good,
Yeah.
but like you weren't really sure which way they were going and how they were going to do it, and I just Days of Futures Past bringing it was basically the
It's the culmination of the two franchises.
yeah, you're just bringing them together. Like,
Yeah.
Days
and
of Future Past gave him a chance, you know?
Yeah.
right, it was awesome. Like when you can bring like nostalgia with it was kind of like the last Jurassic Park, and it's not a great reference
Yeah.
because you brought the Chris Pratt cast um to
It's
the Jeff Goldblum cast, right? That you brought them together and you had them
yeah.
interact, and that right there, you bring the nostalgia with the history, and then you bring like the future, and you kind of like pass them off that way. Like that's awesome. Like
Yeah,
I
and
think
it
that
just like merged them, but didn't merge them. Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like they were like kind of the first to do that.
Mhm.
Like, because now every franchise does, okay, we have people for like Ghostbusters. Okay, we're gonna bring them back. Jurassic
Yeah,
World, we're gonna bring them back.
yeah.
So I feel like they were like the first to
Mhm.
do that. So for sure, but that's interesting. Very interesting to know your past. Days of Future Past is also my favorite X-Men movie.
Mhm.
And rewatched that last night. A great movie, holds up. Bob, anything to add before we kind of dive into the background?
No, I didn't like any of them. They all stink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nothing we haven't probably said somewhere. I think Bill hit the nail on the head. I honestly don't. I haven't rewatched all of them. I've kind of just been like jumping in and out for this.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
that you asked me that question, but I don't know what my favorite one would be at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
I
And
didn't watch Days of Future Past
yeah.
during this rewatch, and I don't remember last time I saw it, so I feel like I have to go back and rewatch that just to confirm.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna rewatch it.
Yeah.
Off the
Also,
top of my head,
definitely
that
gonna watch it.
is probably the best one. I liked First Class when I
Yeah.
first saw it.
I like
First
it
Class
too.
is
Days of
great. Yeah.
Future Past, I think is
Kevin
better.
Bacon,
And then
too,
the
yeah.
like X-Men and X2 are both really good. So I'd
Yeah.
have to watch
Yeah.
and kind of like confirm.
So we've shared our thoughts on the original Deadpool in the last episode. Bill, anything to like kind of before we get into Deadpool 2 that you feel like you need to preface about the original Deadpool movie that like maybe you want to share, or kind of just your overall thoughts? Like, do you like it? I know you've been rewatching Deadpool 2 a bunch, but is
Nonstop, can't
non-
stop.
yeah,
I,
how's Deadpool 1 ranked for you?
I actually had some thoughts about Deadpool 1 compared to Deadpool 2, and like you can clearly tell the differences. But Deadpool 1 as a standalone, it was a unique film, rated R. Like we've never had that before. Ryan Reynolds was basically is Deadpool. It's like Deadpool was casted as Ryan Reynolds, basically. And it's the first movie is your typical origin story where the superhero basically fights himself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly all it needed to be. It
Yeah.
was banter, like back and forth, exactly how Deadpool is, break that fourth wall, and then some fighting action scenes, blow something up, and then the hero wins in the end. Like that's it. That's
Yeah.
all the movie needed to be. It holds up. And the second one, you want me to get into the second one as well?
Not yet. Not yet.
He's gonna give some background
Yeah,
before
I'll
you
give some back.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna tell you how I
basically,
really feel. Yeah.
yeah, before you trash it. Let him talk.
basically, Bill was just on the first episode because that were kind of our sentiments as well. But as always, before we get into the movie, there always comes the background and the release information, as we always do on Previously Recorded's Rewatch. So this was Deadpool 2 was released May 10th, 2018, directed by David Leitch, who has just did Fall Guy. He did Bullet Train. So He's got a nice, unique style, and I think it's felt in. Actually, do think it's felt in this movie. Um, Red Reese and Paul Wernick returned to write the script, with Ryan Reynolds getting a credit as well. The budget is about double the original one, with $110 million, and it went on to gross $785.8 million, with an opening weekend of 125.5 million, which was 10 million less than the original Deadpool. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it comes in an 84% critic approval, with the consensus saying, though it threatens to buckle under the weight of its meta gags, Deadpool 2 is a gory, gleeful lampoon of the superhero genre, buoyed by Ryan Reynolds' undeniable charm. So I think it's a little bit kind of the same thing what we were getting with the first movie. Kind of like the same response a little bit. So as always, we go into a little bit of the production notes and development. As we said on the last episode, Deadpool 2 was like immediately greenlit before even the first movie came out, with everybody set to return. Unfortunately, the original director, Tim Miller, left over creative differences with Ryan Reynolds, and then David Leitch was hired shortly after to replace him. The differences that Reynolds and Miller had was that Miller wanted a more stylized follow-up, but Reynolds preferred to focus on the raunchy comedy style that earned the first film its R rating. It was also over the casting of Cable. Miller wanted Kyle Chandler, which, if you guys don't know that name,
Wouldn't have hated Kyle Chandler, actually.
he's the Friday Night Lights. He was on Friday Night Lights TV show. He's the coach.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Super 8, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
I don't know how that would have went. When I was
Yeah.
writing this, I was like, that would have been a very weird casting.
I don't
Yeah.
know. In my head, it's Josh Brolin now, but I feel like if you saw Kyle Chandler as Cable, it wouldn't look weird. Now that I say that out loud, I'm sure that there's some weird fan version of that, so I'm going to see if I can find it.
Yeah. So this was an issue because Ryan Reynolds' new contract gave him a lot more control, and Fox sided with him, so Miller left. Miller also had the idea for Juggernaut to fight the Thing, which would have been pretty fucking cool. And Fox had given it permission, so they were like, "Yeah, let's let it roll." So the X-Men and Fantastic Four would have crossed over. So then Leitch was the front runner due to his work on the first John Wick movie. I guess he was like an assistant or something, because he didn't direct it. And Reynolds added that Leitch really understood Deadpool and where they wanted to take the franchise. They also said because of how he can make a small budget seem 10 to 15 times what it is. So even though it's not the 50 million of the original movie, it's $110 million. And I think that it's spread pretty well over this movie. I think this movie looks really, really good. So originally there were plans for Cable to appear in the first Deadpool movie, and then also in Days of Future Past, which in release order, Days of Future Past is before this. There's two movies actually before this, and like I said, because of it being Deadpool and Wolverine month, we're just getting you caught up. So Cable was just written as an action character, and they relied on whoever would get cast to kind of add the nuances to the role and explore the character's internal pain to make it feel like a fully realized character. So then Brolin signed on, and he signed a 4-year deal, 4-film deal, with 3 more movies being planned that would reveal more and more about Deadpool. So the other newcomer for this one was Domino, who was intended to appear from the early beginning, and there really had been no other talks of other actors playing her besides Zazie Beetz, who I think is great in this movie. Negasonic and Colossus return. This is the first openly gay relationship in a Marvel movie, which is a big deal for fans of the franchise. And the Juggernaut was appearing in this film as well, voiced and portrayed by Ryan Reynolds. So they asked the actor who played him in The Last Stand to come back, and he said no. So then, obviously, we talked about the X-Force, and those characters are Domino, Bedlam, played by Terry Crews, Shatterstar by Louis Tan, Zeitgeist by Bill Skarsgård, Peter by Rob Delaney, and Vanisher from Brad Pitt, which he was also in the running for Cable at one point, which would have been also a very different movie. And then the end credit scene was supposed to be Fox was going to introduce more X-Force characters to do a spinoff. Yeah, so that's kind of all of the...
Was Brad Pitt actually the character?
Vanisher?
Yeah.
Like,
they only show him when he gets electrocuted, right?
Yeah, that's all he did.
That's what I'm saying. Was it actually Brad Pitt, or did they just like say, "Hey, Brad Pitt, we're going to use you"?
No, it was actually him.
CGI Brad Pitt.
If you watch the gag reel, they show him in the gag
He's
reel.
there. Okay, that was like I knew it was Brad Pitt when he got electrocuted.
Yeah.
I was just curious if it was like, hey, we need you to show up to film this
Mhm.
Do you
8 second clip.
it was Matt Damon in the back of the truck?
Yeah, yeah. Did you tell me that? Somebody told me that.
I
Wait,
don't know. Matt Damon's the two guys when Cable first
When
arrives, and they're two trailer park dudes drinking beer in the tailgate. They're
Yeah.
just like shooting the
one
shit,
of
and he
them's
zaps
Matt
them both.
Damon.
The guy on the left's Matt Damon. The other guy's famous too, but he's not in makeup like Matt Damon.
is the other guy Steve the Pirate?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
well, I guess famous. Not Matt Damon famous.
But yeah, so there's also some post-release stuff. Like there was the Once Upon a Deadpool where they released like a PG-13 version of the movie that didn't do well. And then there's plans for a Deadpool 3 and an X-Force film were in the cards for Fox, but they wanted X-Force bigger, like a bigger Avengers level film. And Deadpool 3 would remain like the first two. So like kind of small and condensed. Leach expressed interest in returning, but Reynolds wasn't sure. Like we had talked about this when right after Deadpool 2 came out, that Ryan Reynolds was very open. He was like, I don't know if I want to make a third one because he's like, he says X-Force is the next logical thing for Deadpool to do without rehashing some of the things. However, all of that came to a halt when Disney bought Fox. And then the original idea for Deadpool 3 was a buddy road road trip comedy with Deadpool and Wolverine. So that's about all the background information that we kind of need that was important. If there's anything that maybe you guys know that I don't know or didn't include, feel free to chime in.
Once Upon a Deadpool did have the fun Fred Savage
Yeah.
Princess Bride illusion. So that was like the one thing that had going for it, aside from just being a PG-13 version of the movie.
Have either of you seen it?
No,
I thought I might have, but
I've seen the
maybe
clips
not.
of the Fred Savage stuff, but that
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
that's what I'm
think I
thinking
saw
of.
the actual movie.
Fun fact about that is that all the proceeds for that movie went to charity, which was nice.
They released it at Christmas time, right?
Yeah, they released it because Alita got moved. So that's why it came out. It just felt weird because that's not the way a PG-13 Deadpool should be. Like a PG-13 Deadpool should be when he's in a movie with another character and he has to like
Not like a movie that you've already made and replacing it with a PG-13 version of it.
Yeah, it's horrible. I'm glad it did bad because it's dumb.
Can you give me screen sharing capabilities so I can show you these?
You have these fan edits?
Well, the one's bad, but the other one is him next to a version of Cable that I feel like would have made sense.
You can't get AI to make one.
There you go.
I mean, RP, you probably could right now. This one I feel like isn't awful. I feel like I could see that version of him.
That looks more like Dolph Lundgren.
But it is a Cable
right.
version, right? So it's just a matter of what interpret. And this, he just looks old, and this is what AI does, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That's a bad
Looks
one.
like
Like if I see, what was the other one that I was looking at?
Yeah, looks like
These two together, like I can see him playing a character that looks that way, and it's not like awful.
I guess, but he just doesn't. He comes off as like an everyman kind of actor where I'm not expecting to see him. Hey, I mean, Bob Odenkirk, apparently nobody is a great actor.
it's great. Yeah, it's great.
So he could have done a great job. Like it's just weird casting. I can see
The whole point of Nobody though is that he comes off like he's a nobody. That's Bob Odenkirk. Like you know, he's like this kind of guy that he's not threatening, but then he's actually a well trained.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But that would have been.
I like Kyle Chandler, so I feel like I think he's good. I feel like it probably wouldn't be as bad. It's just one of those things that like now we've seen Brolin in the role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine it anywhere else.
It's weird for me because this came out the same year as Infinity War.
Dude was cashing checks.
I don't love him as Cable. I'm just gonna start off with that. I think he's good. I think anybody else could have played Cable and it would have been the same movie. I don't think he brings anything special to the movie other than just the Josh Brolin likability. I think he does a good job, but I don't think he's as cool as he could have been.
It doesn't make me say, man, Cable's the man. Like, as much as I want to like Cable, like I already mentioned Cyclops, like this is comic book canon, like supposed to be his son. Like now I'm hoping they, continue with that. They don't just make him like a unique character from the future. But I agree with you. Like Brolin just doesn't pop. Like he's not like a there's nothing that he's doing that makes me say to myself, like, yeah, that guy's like, let me get his action figure. But like, you know what I'm saying? So like, other than and it's just the Deadpool way of the super soldier arm, the Winter Soldier arm, right?
Yeah.
Like just the little callbacks to the other movies that realistically he probably, and if you look at through the eyes of Deadpool, only knows about from watching the news, right?
Yeah.
Like he only knows the Winter Soldier because of like the news, like, and
Yeah.
like he's just like watching it happen around, and he's just doing his own thing. But either it's neither there or there, here or there. But
Which is funny you mentioned Winter Soldier because that's why they
yeah,
didn't use Cable in the first Deadpool movie because he had
Look too similar.
the metal arms were too similar, so they decided not to. So then they make this joke, which one of the things I loved about this movie was the amount of superhero jokes that was in it.
yeah,
I think that they were, without getting a little bit ahead of myself, let's start with our thoughts on the movie. So we were pretty open that we liked the original Deadpool, but it wasn't as good as we remembered. But it was a landmark movie. It was huge. So Bob, do you want to go first, and you want to talk about your thoughts on the film, especially after not seeing it for a while, what you thought? And did you watch the Did you watch the like the original cut? I watched the super duper cut, which was like 10 or 15 minutes extra.
I know there was a super duper cut.
So you
I
watched the
watched
original cut.
whatever's on Disney Plus.
The original cut. Okay. So yeah, share some thoughts.
Well, now I feel like I got just cut shamed. I mean, it was fine. It was the same as the first movie plus a little. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I wasn't like wowed by it. I remember like I feel like Deadpool for me might be a theater experience.
Hmm.
Where like when I watched both of these movies in theaters, I remember leaving and be like, "Oh, that was fun."
Yeah.
And then like I'm watching them on my own in my house, and I'm like, "Okay, this is fine." You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, Zazie Beats didn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
So that was nice to have that, but like it felt longer, it dragged
Yeah.
a little bit at times.
It's about 20 minutes longer than the first one.
I just meant like it felt
Yeah.
like it was a long movie, but it was fine. I don't remember what I gave it on Letterboxd. I can go see a 3. Yeah, so like
3.5.
3.5, which I think I gave Deadpool a 3.5 or 4.
I don't know. I think
I
4.
I feel like I ranked them similarly, but I
Mhm.
liked the original. So I liked the original story better. I felt like character wise, this one had more entertainment value because
Mhm.
of like the X-Force stuff. Like there were things that happened in this one that like I was like, okay, that's interesting, that's funny, this is happening. But I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to exist in my opinion. Like I mean, like I'm happy it does, but like not a movie where I'm like, man, what a film.
So you're kind of like on the same page as the first one with this, but you like the first one a little bit more.
I just think that the first one, I don't even think I like the first one more. I think that I recognize the like significance of the first one more.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Whereas
Bill,
this is just that again.
Bill, what about you?
uh, yeah. I think so, and I agree with Bob. Like this one, like what was the purpose of it? I think the first one was so successful. The second one, they just fluffed it up and put all the bells and whistles on it. With that said, I think it's hilarious, and I have been laughing watching it again on mute. So it's just like the small little things he says, like when Black Tom Cassidy walks up to him, he goes, "Hi, I'm White Wade Wilson," like that, like
Yeah.
things like that are just like the little words here and there, the little things he says. It's just it makes me chuckle. So and it holds up to that point. Now, like yes, the movie is longer, but I think they know what that double the budget. They done double the amount, not even double, but they done actually. You know what I'm gonna say? They did double the amount of stuff that they did in the first one. They added more characters, cameos, more action scenes, more fan favorite characters, and even like the little bit where he's like wheeling around the mansion, and he's like, you can't get one famous X-Men, and then like just a little cutscene and then closing the door behind him is great.
The
Like
first
they don't,
class team, yeah.
yeah, they like you don't really need to do much more than that. And like I think the movie is like who's Fire Fist? Who cares about Fire Fist? But I know it's more of a redeeming like redemption movie for
For Deadpool,
Deadpool, and the whole like your heart's not into it thing with Vanessa, and I really like her. and I
Yeah,
was
me
like
too.
mad. I was really like not happy that they killed her off in the beginning, but of course, as
I
Deadpool,
forgot. I forgot that that happened.
I
yeah,
thought it was at the end of the first movie.
Yeah,
That's all I remembered is that she died early.
yeah,
because Marvel said that when we were doing the first movie. He's like, she
mhm,
dies, and I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck? Because she's in
Yeah,
the trailer
I
for the
thought it was
third
the end
one.
of the first.
yeah,
I will say to Bill's point about like it is funny, but I at the same time I just feel like I'm watching Ryan Reynolds. Like
yeah.
I feel
That's
like that's his humor all the time. So it's like I feel
yeah,
like that being him all the time as opposed to like an actor being that genuinely funny in a role
mhm,
takes like makes me forget that like funny movie. I'm just like, oh, Ryan Reynolds is being him again. Here we go.
yeah, yeah. That I mean, and that's funny that you say that because I actually knew this when it first came out, but T.J. Miller, who plays Weasel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but actually was on an interview after Deadpool 2 came out and he was like, yeah, I'm never going to work with Ryan Reynolds again.
Oh, what?
He hates me. That's what he said. He straight up, he said he hates me. And it was to the point where Ryan Reynolds was so mean to him on set, he would stay in character as Deadpool and talk to him as Weasel and just be like, "Hey, yeah, you're not the star," like giving him like kind of big time in him.
No shit.
Since then, there's been a report. I actually read it today that they've hashed it out. They cleared the air, so maybe he's in the third one. But even watching this, I'm like, I feel like Weasel had more time. I feel like he had more screen time in the first one, and this one, I mean, he's in it enough. But I was just, it was always in the back of my head. I'm like, does it show on screen that like
That's
they don't like each
interesting.
other?
That's
Yeah,
interesting. So I didn't know that at all. I know TJ
yeah,
Miller's kind of like off his rocker now too. Like
yeah,
that's why I don't think he'll be in the third one. I hated him in this one. I didn't think he was funny at all,
yeah.
which is interesting. But I'm coming actually at a different perspective than you two. I really like this movie.
Mhm.
I was surprised how much
Did
I
I
like this.
did I say I hated it? No,
No, no,
I
no, no. No, I'm with you. I
yeah.
think it's I and like you made a great point that the little comments where the first movie I think is a lot of like a wow factor jokes, where this
Mhm.
one's a lot of like little like
Yeah.
Nuance,
nods,
like
like
actually funny.
and
Like
like
calling,
and bits. Like there's a lot of bits in this
yeah,
one where the other one's like
call,
you said the wow factor.
right, and calling Cable Thanos right to his face. I'm like, good, just shine
Yeah,
the
like that
light
kind of
on the
stuff.
thing. Yeah,
There was definitely a bigger level of like, hey, we're gonna say shit.
Yeah,
yeah,
like the
We're not gonna
Martha
beat
stuff,
around the bush. If we get in trouble, we're gonna get in trouble.
like the Martha stuff, the DC
Yeah,
universe.
like
Like
we're
he
just
took a
gonna
shot.
call out films, which I did think I said before you got on RP, I was talking to Bill. I said I think my favorite like thing in this movie is the dubstep reference.
Dubstep
yeah.
reference is great.
Because it was like funny to me, not even in the sense that it was a funny reference, but in the fact that like dubstep is so dead now. Like that how poorly that joke aged made it like funnier to me.
Yeah, no, that it's a great joke. But he makes fun of all the Avengers essentially, Iron Man, Hawkeye,
Mhm.
like all of them. The Hawkeye joke is great. The prison wallet joke, I was
Oh
hysterically
my
laughing
god.
Like just kept
for.
going.
Yeah, he's just like because he was like something about the prison wallet, and then Russell being like, "Oh, I just go squeeze it in there." It's like, and I like laughed for like 2 minutes.
What when he's laying on there like dying of his cancer and he could just say I can hear you rummaging around in there. It makes me laugh
Yeah,
every
he's
time
like
when
he's
he's
like, do they have like Clorox for my ears? And that was like that was the funniest bit of either movie for me. Like
yeah.
I thought that was great, but I just think that this is one. I think this movie looks better. I think it looks fantastic.
Mhm.
They obviously got a bigger budget, but I think they got a better director. Obviously, the Tim Miller
Yeah.
was his directorial debut with the first one. I just think the story's better. I think it does take a little bit to flesh out, where the first one you kind of hit the ground running a little bit,
Mhm.
where this one does take its time. It lets you live in the world of the character, and it's less of that wow factor joke, so the jokes hold up. But yeah, I was like really surprised because my initial response after seeing it the first time was like, oh, that was good, but I didn't love it. And like this one, I liked more than the original Deadpool. And I think they did just like everything that they did, I think they did better. I do think Russell is quite annoying, as we said. I do think the movie tremendously picks up when they get to the X-Force part. And that whole airplane scene was great. I think Ryan Reynolds, like we've all said before, born to play this role. and he was great in the first one because he really got like the stickiness of them, the jokes. But this one, like, I felt like he really was in it, and you felt his motive originally, like it was just revenge. But this, like, it just felt different. I don't know. I think maybe I was in such a good mood watching it. I just had such a good time with it. And I think the action was a lot better. Domino was great. Cable was good. Colossus doing burpees is like a highlight for me. Like, I don't know if Bob, if you remember watching that scene. It's just like a quick, like 2 second scene of Colossus doing burpees out front of the mansion. And it's just like something I never thought I would see.
I don't know that I acknowledge that. Yeah.
And then like all the stuff with Negasonic and her girlfriend and Deadpool, like I just
Oh,
like
what's her name? What's the girlfriend's name?
Yukio.
Yukio, yeah.
And he just keeps saying, "Hi, Yukio."
Hi, Yukio.
Yeah.
And like all of those, like all of the little jokes were just like genuinely funnier to me. The baby feet, all of that stuff. Dopender was great. So I think just everything that they introduced in the first one, I think they did tremendously better. There's some stuff that obviously doesn't work. I think TJ Miller for me in this one didn't work. Russell really doesn't work for me. But there's a lot more that does. And then the end credits are fantastic. And they perfectly set up Deadpool and Wolverine. Like it wasn't planned at all. But what they're going to do is like perfectly set up. So those are like kind of my big takeaways. And I was my biggest like enjoyment of this was I was so surprised how much I enjoyed it. Like because it wasn't that I was like not looking forward to it. It's just that like I knew that my original experience watching that wasn't like amazing because I never revisited it. And I'm surprised I haven't because I really enjoyed this. That's kind of like I don't have giant negatives other than the runtime and it being a little slow in the beginning, but like all the little jokes, like the Logan little thing in the beginning and like another banger opening credit scene. I was told to point this out. The cats on Wade's shirt when he's in the X Mansion are Taylor Swift's cats' names. I did not know that. But I will say that one negative that I did have, and again, I've just been keeping talking. I'm sorry. But it's another mankind, like another no more mutants kind of plot, which I think we've seen in, I don't know, almost all of these movies. It's like
I feel like
mankind.
that's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah, but I feel like they could have like better, like they didn't need that plot. Like they just could have. Russell could have just been. Well, he needed to be tortured, but like I don't know. There's just a bunch of great jokes in this movie that are like kind of deep cuts, like Liefeld jokes. They went deeper in tone. I think this is just an overall better movie. Or the other one, like Bob says, a theater experience. I think that this is just a better overall movie. But I'm done talking. It's enough out of me. So.
Like how would you look at it if they came out in reverse? Like if this was the first one and then the first one was the second one. Like I kind of think the originality of the first one holds up that way. And like this one, you knew what you're gonna get yourself into because of the first one. But like if this was kind of your first exposure to Deadpool, like you may think this is the best movie ever if that's your type of humor. You know, you like the action. Like I kind of think it has all that.
I think I realized, and it was the same problem in the first one. What my actual issue with this one is just like why I did, because everything you're talking about, I'm like, yeah, I did like that, I did like that, I did like that. I didn't give a fuck about Russell.
Yeah, no, Russell.
And I understood like the redemption aspect of things for like from the Wade Wilson point of view. But like after a while, I'm just like, dude, just listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I hope Cable kills him. Like I'm like, who cares?
For 1 second, listen to the guy that's trying to help you.
Yeah.
And like so it like took me like where like who was the villain? The guy who ran the school?
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
Time is the villain.
Yeah,
like
so it was like a weird like where
I'm with
I
you.
wasn't as invested in the so yeah, everything Wade does is funny, the X-Force stuff is cool, but I just wasn't as invested in what the conflict was because I didn't care for it.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Whenever he jumped to like when he was like could see Vanessa but like couldn't reach her, we knew where it was going.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like what took me out of it as far as just not enjoying it as much. But at the same time, we said the same thing about Deadpool.
Yeah.
The Ajax is not.
Yeah, he's whatever. Like
Yeah.
like it's a just like the hero villain.
So yeah, it's a matter of like how much can Ryan Reynolds carry.
And also, like, I don't necessarily care for Deadpool's like hero arc because that's not like he's a hero. Obviously, he's an anti-hero too at points, and like I don't look at Deadpool as a hero. He is just like a menace that sometimes helps people.
He's like Harley Quinn.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't like so I'm not like, oh, let's see Wade become like this Captain America type hero. Like that's not his bit. And like that's the redeemable arc for him is like to
Yeah.
give his to sacrifice himself. And for like a movie, it makes for a more interesting character development and plot. But I think like I didn't necessarily overall care about that because we all knew where it was going to go. Like
And
he's
it was
going to
also
make
very
the right
comic
move.
book esque.
Yes.
Like,
Very
oh
true.
yeah, he sacrifices himself. He'll be back.
That scene, like 45 seconds too long.
Yeah, when he's dying, I was like, okay, like I
Yeah.
get it's funny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
And
like,
like again, the same shit with Cable, where Cable is cool, but like he's just like he's just there. So then
Yeah.
when Cable like sacrifices his chance to get back, it's like, okay, like I'm not like, oh no, he did that and he can't get back to his kid. All right, you did that. That's happening now.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think a part of it hits the formulaic beats of a not just a superhero movie, but like an action movie where you kind of know what's going to
Yeah,
happen,
the hero's not going to die. There's going to be some kind of a sacrifice made.
especially in two. If this was three, maybe. But also, I made a mistake earlier. I said the Winter Soldier thing was Cable was going to be the villain. No, Cyber was going to be the villain.
That
It
was
was
in the first one. Yeah. I
yes,
remember you saying that somewhere.
I missed that. I missed that up. But
Mhm.
oh, also, Bob, did you notice what Cable's gun goes to?
11.
It goes to 11.
It does. Yeah.
I took that note.
Final tap action.
But yeah, no, I mean, anything that maybe we haven't talked about that we should mention about the film. Like we talked about kind of the big things that we didn't like. We talked about the things that we really liked. Anything in between that we might be missing?
Uh, I mean, kind of to go back to like breaking the fourth wall in kind of in a Deadpool way. Like I kind of think that they broke the fourth wall. They kicked the door down. They smashed it in when the scene in bar where he was talking to, and I forget the guy's name, but the big bearded dude.
Oh, no more speaking lines.
Yeah, no more speaking lines for you, but like it got to the point where Deadpool was helping him finish his lines. Like he couldn't find the words of what he was trying to refer to. He finished his line for him, and then he, said some things that was out of character, and then he looks at the screen and he's like, "No more speaking lines for you." Like little things like that. And it's just like, okay, this is a unique. It's just unique,
Yeah.
It's, and I think that's why they can do what they do,
Mhm.
and it still holds up because there's no other movies that are like that. It's not like, oh, I've seen this before. This futuristic Terminator style, and he calls him John Connor. Like
Yeah.
it's just a very on the nose. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Self-aware,
Kind of.
I feel like, is a good way. Like,
Yeah. It's
oh,
very
we have Cable.
self-aware.
We're going to use Cable. We know the Cable is like a.
It's been done. Cable's
Yeah,
been
so
done.
it's like, all right, so how can we call it out that Cable's
Yeah.
been done? We'll call him John Connor.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the fourth wall breaking I thought was better. And like I just think all of that stuff.
I think I think I've narrowed down my problem because I do agree. I think all that stuff's better.
Mhm.
I think the story itself or the characters around the story, I just didn't care for as much.
Yeah.
Aside from the main people that were also in the first one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Domino,
But also, how fucking funny was it when they killed like the entire X Force?
all the X
Yeah.
Force was good.
Yeah.
Also, I don't remember that being Bill Skarsgård.
I don't because he was a nobody at that point, right? Because
Yeah.
when did it come out?
It should have been
The same year.
out around the same time.
I think it was just like
movies had come out
He's in makeup. It's hard to and it does. I mean, Terry Crews is in it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's just like they
but
just have
Terry
like
Crews, I feel like shows up in everything.
yeah. He
As
like
what-
I'm never surprised when he shows up. It came out in 2017.
Terry Crews is in the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster at Epcot.
yeah.
He's in the, like a little
He's
cutscene
everything.
in that. Like it's like
And-
he just shows up in weird shit.
It could have-
Shatterstar's the main dude from the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh,
I forget
Yes.
his name.
Yeah.
which they just
And,
greenlit
like-
too. By the way,
Yeah. Well, I think we need to do when that comes out. We need to do one of these.
Well, we
But
already did the first one, so we gotta.
we did. Damn.
Yeah, we covered the
I
first one.
mean,
We
can
can
go
revisit it.
That's
Yeah,
okay because Johnny Cage should be in the second one. I mean, let's
we
not
can
get
use we can use Cable's time travel and go back and redo it.
Oh, you got one of those?
We can do like
Like
a
stashed in the
are they doing like
Recordiac.
TikTok now? We can have like a stitch where you listen to our podcast and we just get your reactions and then we publish that.
Yeah, all right.
One of the other jokes that I actually really loved is that, and I forgot to mention, is when they're on the car. I think the entire car scene chase thing was really cool too. But Cable's shooting them and Deadpool's swinging his knives around like he does in the X-Men Origins, blocking all the bullets, and then you think he's blocking all of them, and they're just shooting them. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's like great.
Yeah.
And so I, like you said, Bob, I think like you said, like I said, all of the like that stuff. I don't know. I just think it's a better movie, and I am so shocked that I think that because going into this, I was 100% that the first Deadpool is better than two, and I gotta disagree with myself on that one.
It's weird that like we're having this conversation and I almost agree that it's a better movie, but I will not back down from the idea that I don't like it as much.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Which is, I think, fair, but like I think that this is better in the idea of doing the Deadpool things. I just don't enjoy it as much.
I think that's fair. I think it's a
Mhm.
better constructed, well-made movie, but I can understand why you would like the first one better. And anybody that out there that does like the first one better, I completely understand it. Because I feel like people don't talk about Deadpool 2 at all either. Like
Never. No.
I don't know. But this is a really good movie. On a scale of 1 to 5, Bob, what would you give it?
The 3.5, I think I'll stick with. I gave Deadpool 4. I went and looked, and so that fits exactly
Yeah.
what I was saying. I don't think they're like miles
Drastically
apart.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if you were to say, "Hey, which one of these two do you want to watch?" I'd probably go Deadpool.
Yeah.
But also, if I'm just, it depends on the mood. If I want to laugh at dumb shit, this is probably the funnier of the two.
Yeah. There's a lot of good bits. Bill, what about you on a scale of 1 to 5? What would you
See,
rate this?
I don't know what I would rate the first one, but this would be about half a point higher.
Okay.
I do like it more than the first one. Yeah, I don't want to say 3.5 because I feel like that's the 7. You know, like you give everything a 7 kind of thing feel.
No.
But I really am floating at 3.5. I want to give it a 4, but I'm.
Do it.
I think
don't
why
know.
I did
4.
4 for Deadpool, 3.5 for Deadpool 2.
Yeah,
You're probably at 4 for this, 3.5 for Deadpool.
Yeah,
Bill,
you
you
know
should
what? I like it. I'm watching it for a third time and I'm not hating it.
There
So
you go.
I'll give it a 4. Yeah. So
Now,
they're
you just need-
jumping
you
out
need
of the
a-
plane now.
You need a letterbox, Bill.
to
You need a
revisit the beginning,
Yeah.
Madam Web won.
Madame Web. So
I have yet to watch that. Yeah.
how did this get made? Covered it, and the whole time they walked out, Jason was just like Madame Web, and then like you'd speak French or whatever. But so they referred to Madame Web as Madame Web the entire time. So it's funnier to me. That movie sucked. That was a 1 star
That's
for me
what
as
I'm.
well.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
I don't want to get into it, but it's
No.
crazy. Like while watching that movie, there were times where I was like, "This can't be. This isn't as awful
That's-
as people are saying." And then it gets to like the end, I'm like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." Like there was
that-
potential there. There was.
That's what
Yes, I never
I'm
saw
wondering.
Morbius, but that's kind of what you said about Morbius too.
It's
Like the
Morbid
first
time.
half hour, you can like see a glimmer of hope.
Morbius was better. I can tell you that much.
And then it just kicked. Well, also remember that weekend it was between seeing Madam Web and Argyle for me. So as I was watching it the entire time, I was holding it against Argyle. And so the
Argyle's-
first like half hour, I was like, this might actually be better than Argyle. And then by the time I was done, I was like, I'm glad I paid to see Argyle.
There's some
I
wild
hate Argyle.
there's some wild fucking line reading in that movie that kind of how this get made pointed out that like works in the movie. You're like, okay, like whatever. And then you listen to it like outside of the movie and you're like, what the fuck? Like she was just like, I don't have a neurological disease. Like when she has that like flashback and in the movie, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, cool. Then you hear it outside, you're like, what the fuck kind
Yeah,
of dialogue is
I
this?
mean, well, it seems like with Madam Web, and this is off topic.
Madame Web.
I'm gonna wrap it up. They just said, let's get the worst cast imaginable that people would be fine with looking at.
My wife paid more attention. I had trouble paying attention towards the end of the movie. My wife paid more attention. I was asking her questions, but
Wow.
that's a bad movie. This is a good movie. I give it a 4 out of 5, and
And what did you give Deadpool?
4 out of 5
Or
because I'm not going back and lowering my rating.
adjusting Deadpool? Yeah.
But I think they're both 4 out of 5, and I think that this one's just better. And I said last time on here, I don't know if I cut it, that I would have X-Men X2 in terms of what we've rewatched. X-Men X2 Deadpool First Class. No. X1 X2 First Class Deadpool, or Deadpool 2 Deadpool 1. That's for sure. I just want to clear that up. My ranking was untouched. That's
And
what
then
it
Days
actually
of
is.
Future Past.
We'll save that
To
for
be determined.
the
That's what I'm
next.
saying. To be
Yeah.
determined. That's not currently in the list. That's not currently in the
Not
list.
currently in the list. So before we wrap it up, I think that the credits lend perfectly to Deadpool 3. He goes back and kills the old version,
himself.
the X-Men
Twice.
Origins version of himself, which is great. That scene's great. He shoots Ryan Reynolds in the head for reading the Green Lantern script, which is great. He saves Vanessa. I should have led with that. He saves Vanessa, which is great too.
So
This is
that's
like a
how
cheat code.
she'll be alive now.
You know, my
Yeah,
only
and he saves 2 of the X-Force members.
Well, remember we were saying like we don't remember how like she was in the Deadpool Wolverine trailer, but we were trying to figure out how. So all that stuff in the end credit scenes will be like canon, legitimate, like
Yeah, and it sets it up perfectly because he went back and fucked with the timeline, so now TVA can go after him.
okay. Yeah.
So like, I don't know how they're going to do that because obviously like 2 different universes, but like
well,
that's
you
a
can just
perfect
still
setup.
have that thing.
Yeah,
well, he never needed to. Like the TVA always had cable.
yeah,
Go
not in this
after.
universe.
So, but I meant like from this movie, he's already going back in time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
fucking
if you're
with it.
gonna
So
match these movies up, and Cable is they're a team now, right?
my
All in the new one.
I don't know, but it would be weird because you play 2 characters, play Thanos and
Thanos is dead.
for now.
yeah. But he signed. You said he signed on for 4 movies, right?
That's what I meant.
Well,
like,
that was under the Fox. I don't know.
so when they sell to Fox, do those contracts get like wiped?
Yeah.
Or you don't know?
They shouldn't. They should still be.
But I mean, so he should
It
technically
should just
still
carry
be-
over, right?
He either gets his movies or probably gets paid. I'm
Yeah,
sure
maybe
there's a
gets paid
clause.
out.
We know Josh Brolin loves getting paid.
He does. He does.
I did have something about the after credit scene. Now, for a guy whose superpowers are, regeneration of like get ripped in half, survives, can't die. Why is one bullet from his gun able to kill the old version of himself?
Shut up.
I'm just, I just want to know, and I get it, like it's, but I'm pretty sure
Like the
in
one
that
from
movie,
Wolverine's Origin.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
end credit scene in Origins is this chopped up, like because his head gets chopped off in Origins,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's his head.
and it falls
Waking up.
into,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what
Did I
you're
just,
saying. Like, how
did
is
I
he
just
able to
ruin
kill
the
one
after
from-
credits?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that.
I think it was
Uh,
figurative. He's not dead, but it was figurative. It was a metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then Hugh Jackman come up and maybe
know,
they'll address it in the new
it's
one.
fucking funny because I did not have that thought. I was like, well, no,
I-
that movie doesn't exist. That movie does not exist. When they went and did like the
Oh, it
Wolverine,
exists. I've seen it before the CGI.
when
It
they did the Wolverine and when they did Days of Future Past, they were like, this no, it doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, that's a good point, Bill. I didn't even think of that. So that's how it'll go in, which is coming out this week, directed by Sean Levy, who's now being rumored to be the top choice for the Avengers 5 to direct.
He's also very like heavy in Stranger Things, right?
He did a couple Stranger Things episodes. Yep, couple. I actually did a lot. He
I
did
was
the
gonna say, I
Atom
think he does a
Project.
lot.
He did the Atom Project.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of good stuff. I enjoy him as well. So I'd be fine with that, but it would feel like a weird fit. What are we expecting out of Deadpool? Because like my usual question is like, how do you think what do you think the MCU will do differently? Or how do you think he'll transition well? I think he's going to transition perfectly fine. I think using Hugh will be fun. I think he's gonna kill the Fox universe. Part of why we're doing this rewatch. Because you see like the 20th century logo it looks like they're like in the void from Loki. But I think it's gonna be seamless. I think it's gonna be like this. What do you guys think?
I think, and this is all because like they seem to have their finger on the pulse of what people want to see, and I don't know at any point, maybe an after credit scene, or maybe at some point, can I just see Deadpool walk through a portal for the end to end game, and then
Well,
turn around,
that would
like
be amazing.
right? Like just something like
Like he
that.
walks through and sees the big fight. He's like, nah, not for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, nah.
Well, there is
Or he points at Thanos and goes, "Look, Cable's here," and
it's
turns around.
possible, man. There's a portal scene in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like they're jumping through a portal. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to Endgame, but people are like, what if they
Yeah.
do that? Like that would be
Yeah.
the most
20.
Deadpool thing ever.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
then to be like, I've been here the whole time. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But also, you know what I want them to explain if X-Men Origins Deadpool is dead or alive.
See,
What
now it's the questions people
In
are
my
looking.
head.
Yeah. These
about
are the
you,
right
Bobby?
questions.
What about you, Bobby?
In a weird, like, I feel like we've done so many of these that this is a rarity for me. I'm like very excited for the movie. I think I've kind of conditioned myself to not have any expectations
I think that's fair. I think
because, like, I don't, I'm gonna get my hopes up that this is gonna like, if I do that, I'm gonna get my hopes up that this is like gonna have this huge lasting impact on everything MCU wise, and it's gonna rewrite everything. It's gonna have this like groundbreaking change and kind of fix everything. And that's just not how Deadpool is. So it might do that, but at the same time, it might just fuck around with shit and then be like, all right, well, that was cool. Now we're all together.
yeah,
Moving.
I think that's Bob. I think that's a great point. That's where I'm at. Like, I'm not expecting this to be this is going to change the MCU forever. I'm expecting just some fun shit,
Yeah.
and pretty small. Like, it seems like it's going to be a big movie, but like pretty small because this is what all the fucking idiots online do. They're like, this is, if a cameo doesn't happen, the movie's the worst thing that ever happened. Where
I
no, this is
expect some
going to.
cool cameos, though. I expect to see some
I
people.
expect to see some Fox
Yeah.
people show up. I expect to see maybe some characters we haven't seen yet. But it's going to be like exactly what happened with Doctor Strange too. Like people are expecting like all this shit. I think it's going to be localized too. Like this is a Deadpool movie and Wolverine.
This
So
movie.
like, but I'm just expecting to have a good time. I am expecting it to be the movie of the summer. I think it's not hard to beat. There's not really much coming out. Furiosa was good, not great. So I that's my anticipation that it's
What's the
probably
date we got on that?
July 26th, but we'll see it the 25th. So this Thursday when this drops. Yeah, I think that's. Oh, I did learn something today too. That I always thought Deadpool's eyes were CGI. Obviously the emotion, the emotive is, but he wears like those white things are like when they're filming. That's there. So they got to be see through, or he's just like blind the whole time. I don't know. But I thought that would have been an easy thing. Anything to plug before we go?
When this comes out, God knows. You ordered it. I just watched Godzilla -1. It's awesome.
I can't wait to watch it.
Big.
Cannot.
Did you
wait.
watch it dubbed or subtitled?
I watched it subtitled just because I don't do a good job when the mouth doesn't line up with the words.
Subtitles the way.
Yeah.
Subtitles the way to go.
I tried doing the subtitle, but I couldn't. I was like doing other things. Like,
Well, so
you
I
can't.
told, and the dub doesn't seem bad. Like if you get distracted with the subtitles on, I would do the dub, and I don't think it'll take away from the movie.
I saw a little bit in the beginning. Like I seen like the island where they crack like the plane.
Yeah, Odo, I
and,
think
like,
it's called.
What's the -1 refer to?
I have no idea still.
I think
Okay.
it's. I think I don't know.
Just the title.
Maybe just like because they like reset Godzilla, so I don't know if that's like the illusion.
Yeah, like back to square one.
Like Godzilla, like back
Oh,
to
I see.
Billy, anything to plug before you go?
No. I'm thinking about starting Peaky Blinders because
Hell
of
yeah.
because of the movie that they're going to be
Yeah,
well,
officially
they announced.
officially
Yeah.
greenlit. Hell yeah, great
So,
show.
thinking about
I'd
it.
have to do a big Peaky Blinders rewatch at some point.
I'm definitely going to do it. Yeah, I don't have anything to plug. Just keep watching these movies. If you're looking for a fun movie on Netflix, Anyone But You is finally on there. We watched it. I really liked it.
I like that one.
Great rom-com. Thank you all for listening. Remember to rate, like, and subscribe. Bill, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have you. Always,
Thanks for having me.
always,
Yeah.
always great having you. Bobby, as always. And go see Deadpool and Wolverine this week. Maybe we'll do a quick episode when that comes out, or we'll do it. I don't know. We'll see. But there's enough movies we're talking
I'll bring
about.
I'll bring the mic
Yeah.
so we can do live.
Let's do live.
Live reaction.
feedback, live reaction tape to
Yeah.
the film.
Right after the film in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I have like the little ones where you just film it
Yeah.
and there's like a microphone, like how they do like the interviews on the streets.
Yeah.
I could do that
maybe we'll drop a spoiler-free little review on the socials only. So we'll see. But no, thank you all for listening. I hope you're enjoying this, and if you're not, sorry, but I am. So, all right, guys. Thank you for listening. Like I said, remember to rate, like, subscribe, follow on all social media platforms, and tell your friends. Say goodbye.
Or don't.
Or don't. Bye.